As this is the first Bloodstock show on Sky Sports Racing, we thought we'd better start with a bang, and we're setting the bar pretty high for the coming months because I'm here at Banstead Manor Stud. This is Prince Kala Abdullah's Juddmonte breeding operation that has produced the likes of Warning, Commander-in-Chief and Zaphonic. Then more recently they've had Workforce, Midday, Kingman, Enable, and you knew I'd get there eventually, the mighty Frankel. I think to the general racing public, Frankel is the main man here. Just tell us about sort of how he settled into life now a few years into his stallion career.
He knows he's the best here. He acts like he's the best here, and it's very easy to treat him as the best, but he is part of the team.
Most people in breeding probably think you've got the best job in the world, surely, looking after Frankel.
I feel I have. Looking after Frankel and Oasis Dream is an absolute dream come true. Pinnacle of a stallion man's career, to look after such a great horse, two great horses. You know, every horse here is a great horse in his own right. He can only perform to his ability, but with Frankel, of course, we know all about him. His legacy is set in stone, and to look after him is a real privilege and an honour.
When you retired him to stud, when he'd set such a high bar in his racing career, could you ever have thought that he'd have got off to quite the start that he has in his second career?
We were always extremely hopeful, and mainly because of the book of mares that the horse covered in that first year. And when you look back at that now, he's got a return of 17% group winners to foals from that first crop. It is just an astounding achievement.
What's his character like?
He's a very straightforward horse. He's got a laid-back character. He has little quirks. It makes you laugh, really. We get a lot of people coming up to visit him virtually every day to visit him. Clients, the public, people who just want to take photographs on him just to be part of it. And he'll stick his tongue out. You know, he makes you laugh. He'll stretch his neck out and he'll stick his tongue out. And his horse, he gets impatient. Once he's gone out and he's done what he wants to do, he wants to come back in and get on with his life. And he'll let you know. He'll paw the ground, or he'll nod his head up and down, so you know he's had enough now, he needs to go in.
Do you think he knows he's special?
Oh yeah, definitely.
So the crop of mares he got in his for his first crop was pretty sensational, but from that, the horses you've had out of it, it's just, I mean, not many stallions would have that in their life, let alone their first year.
No, and that's exactly right. He's moving at a different level at this moment in time. He's the fastest horse to get to 20 individual group winners in Europe by any stallion ever. That's including his father, Dubawi, and the great stallions. So it just shows you where this horse is at this moment in time. And I think he's just going to get better and better and better. And
just when his first foals hit the ground and then when they moved on to be yearlings, I think the industry, you know, people are going to be so critical of his progeny. That was always going to happen. But you did have to field maybe a slightly trickier time then when people hadn't seen them run, basically.
I think, in fairness to this horse, his reputation doesn't allow him ever to settle. No. You know, he's damned if he does, and he's damned if he doesn't. It's very, very difficult for him. Everyone expects him to be this superstar. You know, the media followed the first yearlings. Everyone expected them to be making millions upon millions, and horseflesh is not like that. Nature has a way, and the criticism for Frankel is that he doesn't actually, unlike Kingman, stamp his stock.
Right.
Which makes a huge amount of difference in the commercial market.
But then when the runners hit the track and his first, what, four runners were winners or something ridiculous. Yeah. And then he had the Group 1 winner as a 2-year-old over in Japan, was it?
Yeah, soul stirring.
So as soon as that then happens, people suddenly, he's like, oh, actually, Frankel's the second coming.
It's still funny. The commercial market still is quite tough on him. Yeah. Probably quite rightly so. If they don't feel that they look like him, agents find it quite difficult to say what does a good one look like.
I see.
They seem to come in all shapes and sizes.
He's had his Group 1 winners, he's had cracksmen, he's had group winners over all sorts of distances on all sorts of ground. Tell me How important is it for him to deliver a classic winner?
Well, he was very close. You know, from his first crop, he had Eminent and Cracksman in the first 4 in the Derby, and they weren't beaten that far. Rostropovich this year was second in the Irish Derby. He wasn't that far. I know he hasn't produced one yet, but the evidence is there. He will. It's just a matter of time.
You're not worried?
Not at all. No, far from it. It's just a matter of time. I hope we're the first ones to do it, by the way, and I'm sure Prince Khalid will be hoping that he is the breeder of that first classic winner for him in England.
Frankel may be the headline act here at Banstead Manor, but the stallion roster is packed with class throughout, and they now have a new kid on the block. So Simon, we're here in the paddock with Expert Eye, the latest addition to Juddmonte stallion roster here in the UK. As we can see, he is a pretty relaxed individual. There's not many stallions you'd just be able to come in with a camera crew and do this with, but tell me how he settled in here to life at Banstead.
From the moment he's arrived here, really, he's just been part of the team, so he's no problem whatsoever.
And now, looking ahead to what he's got in the coming weeks and months, he's got a pretty full book of mares, I understand.
Yes, I mean, he will have a very busy season. He'll cover around 140 mares, which for a first season sire, it's a lot, but in terms of where we are in the marketplace nowadays, it's probably pretty standard. Having said that, from what we've seen with him, his libido, certainly his libido and his interest in the mares is great, and he's covered his trial mares very, very well, which means that we can go into the season with some confidence.
At the other end of the spectrum, sort of here at Banstead Manor, you have Oasis Dream still covering mares at the age of 19.
19
yeah.
He is, yes.
Just talk me through sort of his career and what he's achieved for you guys here at the stud.
And then when Oasis Dream came here, he was a pretty special horse. You know, he was a homebred, he was bred on the farm, he was a champion 2-year-old, he was a champion 3-year-old sprinter. He ended up being champion first season sire, and really has never let us down at any stage, and he's just been such a great horse. He is a stalwart of Juddmonte, and he is what Juddmonte is about.
And on cue, look at that. Hello, you.
There you are, you.
Hi there. Hello, do you just want to get in on the action?
Yes.
We've touched on him obviously starting out, and Oasis Dream at the top end, and the kind of guys in the middle bracket would be obviously Frankel, but Kingman. I mean, talk to me about what last year was like for you, sort of seeing his runners hit the track as 2-year-olds.
Well, I think, you know, first of all, the fact that Kingman arrived here on the back of Frankel, we didn't probably expect to get a horse anywhere near the capabilities of Frankel in such a short space of time. So when Kingman arrived here, you know, it was easy for breeders to like him.
I don't see it as a job. I mean, it's a hobby. I enjoy coming in every day and seeing the boys. You build up this relationship, and it's why I do what I do, because it's what I like, the one-on-one interaction. So I've looked after Kingman ever since he came to stud. So, you know, we all have our own individual horses, and we kind of know them best, really.
Obviously, for any stallion manager, to have a first season sire who has a winner at Royal Ascot, and let alone just any race, but the Coventry, it gives you a great start in life. Sadly, we didn't see Calyx again after the Coventry, but I can assure you that he's gone back into training. We had him here up the road spelling for a bit, and he's a very nice horse. So hopefully Mr. Gosden will be getting him back into shape to take on some of his foes, including a lot in Mr. Gosden's own yard, no doubt.
A horse like Bated Breath that we've also seen out exercising today, he might be forgiven for thinking that he sort of slips under the radar when he's got to compete against some of the names we've mentioned. But he's really continuing at a very sort of successful commercial level.
I think we have to think back a little bit. When Dan Silly retired to stud, he ran a great third in the Breeders' Cup. He hadn't won a Group 1 at that stage, and his dam hadn't reached the echelons that she did later on in life with 5 Group 1 winners. So he retired to stud, and he was £8,000, which is exactly the same as Bated Breath did. And it took Dan Silly about 3 or 4 years to be really acknowledged as a sire that you could actually use. And you know, history will show that he is one of the great sires. And I think that with bated breath what we're seeing is similar sort of traits. They're a little bit more speed orientated, and they definitely are tough, sound and genuine. They try hard, and the vast majority of them win. So if you're having a strike rate of 55% winners to runners like he is at his level, he's doing a very good job, and he will give breeders winners.
Join us in part 2, where I head over to the mare's side of the farm and meet a few of the star producers here at Juddmonte. Juddmonte is a breeding operation are famous for their quality of mares, and topping the list is the wonder broodmare Hasili, who produced no fewer than 5 individual Group 1 winners, and whose offspring won or placed in 43 Group 1 races. She sadly passed away in 2018, but her legacy will live on for years to come. And now staff on the farm are gearing up for the new breeding season, with more top-class producers to follow in her footsteps. So Ed, we've come to one of the mares' paddocks now. We've got a few of the expectant mares behind us and around us. First of all, just tell me what are the mares sort of doing at this time of year, and what's from the mares' side, what's the stud doing now?
So we're just preparing ourselves for the breeding season. We've got groups of in-foal mares, as you can see behind us, and these are due date specific, so they'll head into our foaling unit in batches. And then on the other side of the farm, we've got our maidens and barreners, again under lights, preparing for the breeding season.
And so when they're getting near kind of their due date, you're bringing them in and out every day, are you?
That's it. So they're currently in at night, and then they'll move to our foaling facility, and then they'll foal in and around their due date, yeah, in their batches.
And then obviously the logistics of getting various mares to various different stallions isn't the easiest, so you guys actually have quite a lot to juggle at this time of year.
Absolutely, yeah. So depending on when they foal, we'll get them through the foaling process, we'll assess the foal, and we'll get that into its exercise regime, and then approximately sort of 3-4 weeks of age, then they'll start to head off. They'll either come back to Banstead to visit the home stallions, or they'll head to their covering sires.
All these horses seem very well trained, because yeah. Right on cue, this lady, who's this?
This is Timepiece. This is His Highness's Group 1 winner by Zamindar out of Clepsydra.
And who's she in foal to?
She's in foal to Frankel.
Oh,
yeah.
Check that out. That's not bad breeding,
is
it?
That's it, yeah. No, we're looking forward to seeing her Frankel. She's had a couple of very smart Dubawis, and she's just at the start of her breeding career, really. So
what are they then now? They're a yearling and a foal, are they?
Exactly right, yeah. So they're in Ireland. The team in Ireland are looking after those, and yeah, we're very excited to see what a Frankel will look like out of Timepiece.
You can't really put a price on actually what we have here right now in front of us. What does that feel like to look after every day?
It's incredibly special. I mean, Prince Carter's broodmares bands is just amazing. I mean, we're very fortunate. We're stood in a paddock here, and they're purely grouped for their due dates. But we've got Timepiece here. We've got the dam of Calyx, Hella Barine. We've got Enable's dam, and then we've got Fair Eva's dam, and we've got a 4-time Group 1 winner in Proviso. So.
And that's not even planned, like you say. That's just due date specific.
They were weaned last year, and they were put together purely for their due dates for this year. So this is just one paddock. And
do you feel the pressure?
Not so much pressure, really. Just excitement more than anything else. Just looking after them. Yeah, I mean, all of the team here, just looking after these horses. Just excitement to see what they're going to produce for next year. We're very fortunate in the horses that we have reared here. Yeah, just excitement.
So we've come down to these two slightly star broodmares, I might say, because this is none other than Enable's dam, yep. And this is none other than Calyx's dam.
That's right, yeah.
So talk us through the two of them and who they're carrying to now.
So this is, as you say, is Concentric, the dam of Enable. She's currently carrying to Nathaniel, so we're expecting a full brother or brother or sister to Enable to come out. And again, this time of year is part of the enjoyment. Whether you have a colt or a filly, and whether she'll marry up and be similar physical type to Enable, who we know is so successful.
God, I bet you can't wait for it just to land on the ground.
Yeah, no, it'd be good.
So what has she had since Enable then up until now? What's on the ground out of her?
So we have a Frankel 2-year-old who will be allocated and going to training, and then we've got a smart See the Stars yearling. And
obviously only half siblings, but were they similar to Enable, or did they have any family traits there?
Just carrying on from all of her other foals, really. Just high class individuals, a lot of presence about them, very athletic types. So yeah, there are high hopes for both of them, really. Yeah.
Now this isn't staged. She is literally this laid back, is she?
Yeah, no, she's middle of the day for her turnout, and yeah, she's an absolute popper. She's very relaxed, tough of a mare.
So who's she carrying to?
She's carrying to Frankel.
She's carrying to Frankel.
So we had a very high class individual by Frankel that unfortunately we didn't get to race.
Right.
So yeah, that'd be
Gone
fantastic to see.
Again.
Yeah, definitely.
Such exciting times here, girls. We'll let you get on with your afternoon snooze.
Yeah.
What a pet, hey?
Yeah.
What a pet. Having seen the mares out at grass and the stallions on exercise during the morning, I was intrigued to know what the plans for the future were here at Juddmonte. In terms of standing the stallions, 5 on the roster at the moment for this coming season. Any plans to have more than that, or are you happy at that number? Do you want to keep it at that sort of low quantity, high quality situation?
Well, as you see, we've got space for 8. Some of these are actually taken up by the retired horses as well, but yeah, we have 8. We've got 5 on the roster. We would like to be at 8. We'd like to have a capacity of 8. But I think it's important to remember in the marketplace, you've got to have the right horse. So it's not just a matter of retiring any stallion, it's having the right horse to retire.
We've seen a couple of the retired horses here as well. Talk us through your retirement policy as a breeding operation.
Sadly, we'd like them all to go on till they're about 30, but it doesn't quite work that way. We lost Dan Silly off the roster this year because of fertility struggles. So he now spends his time living a life of luxury in the boxes you see behind us and being looked after and tended and cared for.
Nicer than my own home, by the way.
as he should do. So he's joined, amongst others, his brother Kasik is here, Observatory's retired here, and Zavendal.
So you really do look after the stalwarts?
Yeah, well, listen, they looked after us, why wouldn't we?
The green, pink and white silks are just so famous on the racetrack, and I think the reputation they have is one of real class. Is that something you pride yourself on here as a homebred operation?
Well, I think it follows through. You know, whatever Prince Khalid has done with his breeding operation has always had that classy image, and it has followed through to the farms. We try to instill it in the staff, and certainly when it comes to the handling, you know, we have wonderful staff here, people who have been long serving, they're passionate about what Prince Khalid does, and yes, it's a great operation to work for.
Juddmonte have had success over decades now in those famous colours, but recency bias means that a lot of our viewers will think immediately of Frankel, Kingman and more recently Enable, and they'd say how lucky Juddmonte are to have such wonderful horses, but I know you have quite a strong view on that word luck.
I think you've got to look at it like this. Prince Khalid invested very, very heavily in the very early 80s. He invested in people, he invested in horses, he invested in farms. He got the right people on the right farms and he bought the right mares. Now, if that's luck, that's okay. He then, over the years, for the last coming up 40 years, he's now the breeder of over 108 individual Group 1 winners. 300 group winners, 500 stakes winners. If that's luck, well, he's a very, very lucky man.
What's left on the horizon to achieve?
Well, it's quite interesting. It was a question that was asked an awful lot after Frankel. You know, you've been breeding all of your life, you suddenly breed Frankel, best horse that anyone's ever seen, champion 2-year-old, 3- and 4-year-old, the world's best horse, world's highest rated horse, unbeaten, what a story, give up. And then comes along Kingman, then he has Arrogate, then he has Enable. So there's still lots to look forward to.
With the likes of Enable and Frankel topping the homebred list here at Juddmonte, it's fair to say there is plenty to look forward to, with the 2019 breeding and racing season just around the corner.